Hello, and welcome to GearVR Development Setup. My name is Chris Ellis, and I'm going to guide you through setting up a PC to allow you to develop GearVR applications using Unity. The setup process is straightforward. First, we will download and install software to get the PC set up. Next, we will install Oculus software on the phone and configure the phone for development. Then we will set up and use Unity to create and deploy an application. Finally, we will look at next steps for development. The first SDK to download and install is the Java 8 SDK from Oracle. Go to a search engine and search for Java 8 JDK. This should find an Oracle download site. Go to that site, and when you're there, you need to look for the latest version. And at the time of this recording, it is update 112. Now you may find something different because Oracle is continually making improvements to Java. Now the next thing you need to do is accept the license agreement and click that little radio button, and then you need to select the appropriate software for your platform and then click the link and start the download. Once the download has completed, install the software. For these installs, I'm using the default values supplied by the software. Okay, Java 8 JDK installed successfully. The next SDK to download and install is the Android SDK from Google. Go to a search engine and search for Android SDK. This should find a download site at android.com. Go to that site. This displays the option to download the Android Studio, and that is what I'm going to do. Technically, you can download just the SDK, but I'm going to download Android Studio because that will allow me to do full Android development also. I'm going to click and download the software. Once the download has completed, install the software. For these installs, I'm using the default values supplied by the software. Click Next and Finish to start Android Studio. Then hit OK. Android Studio and Android SDK will require configuration. For these installs, I'm using the default values supplied by the software. Check the install and look for errors. If everything looks good, click Finish. Next, we want to launch the SDK Manager. And if we just look under the Configure drop-down and click SDK Manager, that will launch the Android Studio SDK Manager. But I like to use the standalone SDK Manager. So if you click that link, it will launch that. And if we look around, we see that we have 7.x SDK files installed. And if we look, we see that it wants to install more 7.x files, and I don't need them, so I'm going to uncheck them. And we can collapse these. And what we want is the 50x files. And in particular, we need the SDK platform and the sources for Android SDK. And I'm just going to go back through and double check that it's just those two we want. And ultimately, we see that a USB driver will be downloaded also. But ultimately, we'll go down and we'll click the Install 3 Packages button. And we'll accept the license and install that software. Okay, Android SDK installed successfully. The next SDK to download is the Oculus Mobile SDK. Go to a browser and enter developer.oculus.com and go to that page. Next, scroll to the bottom of the page and look for the Developers column and click on Downloads. Choose the mobile category and the latest SDK level will appear. Then press the Details button of the SDK, and on the next page, click to agree to the terms and press the Download button. Once the download has completed, we need to view the file and extract it. I prefer to place SDKs like this in a folder off the root of the drive. Okay, the Oculus Mobile SDK is downloaded and installed. Next, we will download and install Unity. We need to download Unity to create apps. However, the latest Unity software could be incompatible with the Oculus software, and that can lead to performance and other problems. Our first step is to go to the Oculus developer forums and identify a recommended version. We want to navigate to developer.oculus.com, and when that loads, we want to click on Help and then click on Forms and then do a search for recommended version. And from this search results, we will see an entry for recommended versions, and we want to go into the discussion. And if we go back to the first entry, we see that an Oculus staff member makes a recommendation, and they will update this recommendation. We can see that this was updated not too long ago. Now, we also can look through the discussion to learn what other developers are encountering and what staff members are advising. But we know from this discussion, we're looking for version 5.4.1 of Unity. So Unity is hosted at unity3d.com, and we will get Unity and we'll just get the personal edition because we can do all this development, and we don't want this. We can go down here to older versions of Unity, and we're looking for 541, and I'm going to download the Unity installer, and that downloads very quickly, and we can show in folder, and I'm going to run it as administrator, and yes, allow it to make changes to the device. Next to continue, accept terms, 64-bit. Okay, and we want Android build support, and I'm going to highlight the Microsoft Visual Tools for Unity. Since I'm using Windows, Unity can use Visual Studio 2015, and there is a free version of Visual Studio that you can either download and install from Microsoft, or it will install during the Unity install as the script editor for Unity. Now, if you're running on a Mac, Unity will install, I forget, but there's another editor. I should know this off the top of my head, Mono Develop. But this will integrate in, this is the software that will integrate Unity and Visual Studio together. So I already have Visual Studio installed, so it shouldn't try to install that. But I'm just going to go ahead and click Next. We do want Android build support. And I'm just going to go ahead and install it to the default. Okay, Unity is installed, but we won't work with it until we have our phone set up. Okay, so our next step is to actually put the phone into the head-mounted display, and if you have a Gear VR compatible phone and you've not put in a head-mounted display, you're going to get a message that will say that it has to download software. So you go ahead and you put it in, and then you put it on, and it should.
Welcome to Samsung Gear VR. To start the setup process, remove your mobile device and install the required applications on it.
Okay, so it just said, it gave me audio also, that you want to remove it, and then it's going to install software. And I don't know if I captured the audio coming off of it, but then we get this, and then we just hit next, and then it just starts downloading and installing. And of course, with everything, you have a little agreement that you need to make, and then you can just see that there's a number of applications that it will download and install. Okay, so it looks like the Oculus software is installed, and we'll just go ahead and press start. And I'm just going to sign in. I already have played around with Gear VR, so I already have an account. If this is your first time, you'll have to create an Oculus account, and from here I'm just going to press enter VR, and then this is a very familiar screen. You'll get used to it, where if you're trying to run a VR application, that you actually need to then put on the head-mounted display, and then you'll get kind of a splash. And then you just have some setup tasks, and then this is kind of warning and an acknowledgement, and then it gives you a quick tour. I'm not going to go through the tour. And then you are here, and that means that this phone went from not having Gear VR on it to having Gear VR on it. So that concludes the Gear VR setup. Next, we will enable developer mode on the phone and enable USB debugging. This is needed to deploy apps to the phone via USB cable. This process can vary per device, but on an S7 Edge, we navigate to the Settings app. Then we scroll to the About Device item and click. Then we scroll to the build number and we tap 7 times. Next, we want to turn USB debugging on. We return to the settings list and now have a developer options item. We click on that and find the USB debugging switch and set it to on, and then confirm with an OK. Our phone is now in developer mode. Next, we need to create a signature file for our applications. Only apps that have a signature file can run on the Gear VR platform. First, we need to go to developer.oculus.com. Then, we scroll down to the bottom of the page. In the Developer column, we want to click on the Tools link. To use the tool, you need an account to log in. After you log in, you will see some instructions on how to get the device ID of the phone. We need to use the Android SDK and have the phone connected to the computer via USB. So you want to open a command line and go to the Platform Tools directory of the SDK that you've installed. Then we use the ADB program, passing in the word devices, and ADB will show a list of devices connected along with the device ID. Then we just need to copy the device ID, paste that back on the web page, and then we go and download the file. We will use this file when we build our application with Unity. First, launch Unity. Unity requires an account. If you don't have one, you will need to register. Then log in. We need to choose a license. Personal license allows you to do everything we need. Agree to the license that applies to you. Okay, let's start developing. Click on New Project. Since this is just a test, I'm going to use the defaults. Click on Create Project. We need to set the location of the Android SDK in the Java JDK. Located in Edit, Preferences, and External Tools, look up where you've installed the Android SDK and the Java JDK, and then set both locations in Unity. With these locations set, Unity can now build Android applications. Gear VR apps should run at 60 frames per second. We can force Unity to run at 60 frames per second by going to Project Settings and then Time, and set the fixed time set and the maximum allowed time step to be 0.0166666. Now I'm going to build a simple scene. I'm going to create a new scene to get a light and a camera, and then add a plane and some cubes. Now, let's take this scene and create a Gear VR app by going to File, Build Settings, and select Android and switch to that platform. And then we'll add the scene that was made, and we'll just call it main. And then we want to take a look at the player settings. And in here, we need to make some adjustments. And we want to go to the Other Settings section. And we want to check the Virtual Reality Supported checkbox. And that turns on Unity's support for VR. And it's really that easy. Another thing we will want to change is the bundle identifier. We want to make that our own rather than just the default. And we can go up and we can check multi-threaded rendering and take advantage of that. And we'll want to go down and change the minimum API level, and that is right there. And we want to change it to 5.0 because 5.0 is what we downloaded in the Android SDK. Now if we go back to the Build Settings window, we should see that we can change our texture compression. And we want to set it to ASTC. This offers a good combination of performance and quality. Now ETC2 is also an option, but there is a problem sometimes with texture import with ETC2 that can lead to very long import times. So we just want to use ASTC instead. Let's go ahead and close out of Build Settings. We need to add the signature file to our project. And to do that, in the Assets folder, we create a directory structure, Plugins, Android, Assets, and put the file there. Now we will verify that the app can be built by clicking on Build. We see that the application has built successfully. Connect your phone via USB and click Build and Run. The application will launch after it has been deployed. Disconnect your phone and insert it into the HMD. Put the HMD on to view the app. You may have to grant permissions to the application. The personal edition of Unity uses this splash screen. And now you should be able to turn your head and see the different cubes. And we have successfully built and deployed a Unity application. You now have a development environment ready for Gear VR applications to be built. So I find this very exciting. And there are many other resources out there on the web to help you with this journey. Unity and their tutorials and their Unite presentations are a great resource. Also, Oculus has many videos out there from their conferences. I wish you well on your journey. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for watching this video, and I wish you well on your future endeavors. Thank you.